how to use Yoast SEO Plugin in 2022. In this video session, I'm going to walk you through setting up Yoast and using it correctly so that your business website grows better and also takes advantage of search engine optimization. Yoast SEO Plugin is a very popular search engine optimization plugin for WordPress. But throughout the years, Yoast team kept adding unneeded features as well as incorrect features that if you don't set up Yoast correctly, then you'll be wasting your time as well as you won't be getting the results for your website. Instead, simply visit RankYa blog and locate how to use Yoast SEO Plugin 2022 URL. You can use the website search functionality and search for Yoast because on this blog post, I've shared some useful tips and insights as well as the variables for Yoast. You can simply copy and paste. In this video session, I will assume that you have already installed and activated Yoast SEO plugin. If not, log into your WordPress dashboard. Under Plugins, press Add New. Search WordPress plugin depository for Yoast. Install and activate. Let's go and see how we're meant to use Yoast. Please be aware that I'm actually going to go a little bit fast in this tutorial. That means you may need to pause and rewind the video. So, once you install and activate Yoast SEO plugin, you'll have a menu option on the left hand side here. Let's press on General, and here you'll have your dashboard. I'm using custom functions to remove all the clutter because when I log into RankYa website or my valued client's website, I want to focus on content creation, and also I don't want to be distracted because Yoast SEO plugin in 2022 tries to upsell a lot of unneeded things. Nonetheless, let's go and see. General, Yoast SEO Settings, Dashboard. Here it says SEO Settings Configured. If you haven't, you can always reopen it and go through the steps that they have included in 2022. That means you can simply answer some questions and press on Next to configure Yoast. But even then, this is not the way to use Yoast. So next, let's press on Features. You can confidently disable all the features except XML, Sitemap functionality, which is a great feature of Yoast plugin. Now, if you're not using Google Search Console, then you should, because within it you can provide sitemaps, as in the map of your website. When you do keep in mind that you should not be submitting the parent sitemap, but rather you should submit page sitemap, also post sitemap. If you're using WordPress WooCommerce plugin, then you should submit product sitemap. That will save time, and also it will let Google know which parts of your website are important. And with Yoast SEO plugin, XML built-in functionality means that you don't have to use a different plugin to generate XML sitemap. XML sitemaps are important in terms of how you're guiding Google about your website structure, so to speak. So as we can see, I have all these other things disabled here. Some of these in 2022, such as insights, SEO workouts, link suggestions, all this stuff are premium option. Do you need the premium version? Keep your money in your pocket. You don't really need it, because you're not really getting anything in return that is of value. In fact, I'm not going to show you my value client's website, but the redirection option of Yoast, it stuffs everything up, so you need to disable a lot of features. That means if you do need a redirection plugin, then there are many plugins. I recommend redirection.me website. You can check out a plugin accordingly. Okay. So you may be thinking, well, if you turn all these features off, Tolga, then that's your website. No. I have valued clients that I maintain their website, and they hire me to optimize and maintain their website. And for them, the insights that I'm sharing with you, I use. Make sense? So it's not just for RankYa website. You should definitely be not wasting your time allowing Yoast SEO plugin to confuse you about what search engine optimization is about. Remember, Google is an advanced search engine. No plugin can analyze the readability of your website. You can use tools such as Search Console or Google Analytics, particularly Google Analytics, if you really want to understand how people are interacting with your website. Because the longer the visit duration means people are finding your content more readable. And there are other features of search engine optimization that you can implement on your website that will help you to not only get higher Google rankings, but also higher conversions. And RankYa blog has the tutorials, including video tutorials. Okay, so let's go and see what else. Let's look at integration. Once again, there are some SEO tools out there such as SEMrush and others. If you spend 1 hour wasting your time using such tools, that means that's one less blog post on your website. Okay, so with integration, you can confidently disable them as well. With webmaster tools, Google site verification, this may be an option for you to consider if you want to verify your website with Google Search Console. But there are many tutorials that shows you how to insert the line of code without using plugins such as Yoast. Okay. So next, the most important feature of Yoast SEO plugin is search appearance. That's why I've created this particular blog post, because here it says posts. Let's look at, first let's look at title separator. You can use any of them. Perhaps leave the default as in the hyphen, that's good enough. Now most people, especially local business owners, think that, oh, Yoast SEO plugin gives me an option for knowledge graph and schema.org. You shouldn't be using this. But then you may say, okay, you know what, my business name is whatever your business name. Once again, you can search RankYa website for local business, because I've created sample codes where you can easily modify and add to your WordPress site. Okay, so as you can see, instead of using Yoast by just providing your business name, you can tweak. Let's paste this here. This is a script. As you can see, I've made it simple for you to simply change the details to match your local business. And this script can be placed within header.php file within the head section. That's a better way to add schema.org local business markup instead of using Yoast SEO plugin for that. But if you do choose, then you can simply add your business logo from your media library. And each time you make changes, you can press Save Changes. Next, let's look at content types, because WordPress is a content management system. Even if you're using WordPress for e-commerce setup, blog posts are critical to have as content strategy on your website, because it will help you to rank keywords. It will help you to rank competitive keywords as well. Basically, blogging is a must, and WordPress makes everything simple in terms of content publishing. With posts, single post settings, select on. Show SEO settings for post, select on. SEO title, you can have title page, or you can actually just have title if you want, okay? Meta description, just place excerpt. That's why you can copy meta description and paste it in there. Okay, like paste the sample codes I made available for you. Let's move on. With schema settings, you should not be using Yoast SEO plugin to add schema.org information or structured data to your WordPress site. Here it says social settings, unlock with premium, keep your money in your pocket, don't really need it. In fact, you don't need it. Let's look at pages. Here, same principles apply as in same settings. For single page settings, have on. Show SEO settings for pages, select on. SEO title can be title or title and page. So, pages, let's grab that, paste it in there, and excerpt is the same thing, okay? So, with Yoast, you can press insert variable, and here it says site title, primary category. Let's press that. Okay, these are settings, main settings. Because once you set it up correctly, then in terms of SEO, you need to optimize your blog posts, pages, or product URLs. And I'll show you how to do that in a second. So these are the settings. The most important part of your WordPress site is blog posts, pages, and products. Let's move on. Media. You can leave this as it is. The only time you would change this is if you're operating an image-based website and then attachment URLs have unique content. And that is rarely the case for WordPress setups. So you can leave this as setting. Redirect attachment URLs to the attachment itself? Yes. If you press no, then you can see SEO title can be title and meta description can be caption. So you can actually place that information by copy paste. Once you do that, then select yes, save changes. Okay. Let's look at taxonomies. Categories have on. SEO title is term title, archives page, meta description, category description. Now, where do these come from? Let's imagine posts categories. Here, WordPress, as in Yoast SEO WordPress plugin, gives you an option to edit the category description and title, right? So here is the, where are we? That's the title and that's the description. That means when you tweak these settings here, that information from here, it will be pulled in the for search engines like Google. Okay, I'll actually show you what that means so that you see. So it's categorized as SEO in this blog post. Let's look at the source code. And the title is here and description is here. So once you set up Yoast with these variables, then you're all set. When you create categories, then you can provide those information. Let's look at post tags. Here it's catch-22. Whether you have it on or off, it makes no difference. I suggest to you to show tags in search results. Select that as off. SEO title, same principle. Term title, archives page, meta description, term description. Now you know where they come from too, right? Because tags are an important part of WordPress. So then anytime you provide SEO title and meta description here, because you can now tweak it, Yoast plugin will pull that information out from there. Post formats, you can select off. And category URLs, remove the category prefix, select keep. Let's look at archives. Now for each WordPress setup, what you see here will be different. You may have e-commerce site, you may have a different setup. So thus the archives may have different information here. Here, author archives, select on, then show author archives in search results, select off. SEO title can be name, author, at, site title, page. Description, you can provide anything here. Read more blog posts written on site title by author name. Date archives, you can actually turn it off if you want, but you can have it on. But make sure you select show date archives in search results. Select that off. So remember with archives, because in recent Yoast settings, when they updated this, they've got a lot of things wrong, causing big problems for many WordPress sites. So date archives, don't have it in search because there's nothing unique on those pages. Special pages, not even that important. You can leave everything as it is. You can even like remove it if you want. Okay, but leave things at default, as in, where are we? Date archives, select no. Special pages aren't important for Google or search engine optimization. Breadcrumbs, Yoast SEO plugin gives you an option to further change the breadcrumb settings. I suggest to you to leave things as it is and don't tweak things here, because menus play an important part on any website. So you want to have things at default, because WordPress menu structure is actually really good. While here, let me show you a tip. On the appearance menu option, to improve accessibility of your website, WordPress menu structure, screen options, you can select title attribute, as in have that checked. Then let's say any menu link that you have, now you have option for title attribute. Within that you can provide information related to your linking structure. When people hover over a link, that information shows up. So that's actually a smart way to make sure your WordPress site is better optimized. So let's continue. As I've said, breadcrumbs, you can change the breadcrumb settings here, but I suggest to you to not do so. As in, leave the settings as it is without making changes. Let's press on RSS. Here you can put anything that you want. And the variable that perhaps you should consider using is this here. Now, I'm going to show you a trick here. Let's say your domain. It's actually smart. Let's say your business name. You can actually include a link. So now what you're saying is RSS feed will show this information. And here, you can actually give a URL to your sitemap. If you do maintain an HTML sitemap. Okay, so you can actually do something like this. I'll zoom into this particular section. Actually, I'll add that to this blog post for you to consider. So you can do something like that as well. Okay, so I've updated the blog post to include that information. If you do maintain HTML sitemap, if you don't, then perhaps you should consider using it. HTML sitemap provides navigational structure of your website. This is a great way to better guide Google in terms of what pages, what blog posts, or what products are important on your website. So let's move on, and basically that's how you set up Yoast. It's search appearance that is the most important, because general settings, features, you basically disabled everything except XML sitemap. You can look at your XML sitemap by visiting this URL. As I've said, posts, pages, and if you're running WooCommerce, then product sitemap should be submitted to Search Console. As we can see, I have category sitemap, correct? But with Search Console, I haven't submitted my category sitemap because I don't need to. Google will work that out by itself. So let's move on. Let's look at the social settings. If you do maintain Facebook business page, Twitter URL profile, or even YouTube URL, then you can provide that information here. With Facebook, you need to actually create an app. You can follow here. It says add open graph metadata. You can have that enabled, disabled. For RankYa website, I'm using different tactics to actually hook into Yoast settings. As we can see, if you do, add open graph metadata, have that enabled, default image, replace image. That means that's a fallback image for, let's say, blog posts or your business if you're a local business and so on. This feature, you can read more about it. Let's move on. Twitter, you can select summary with large image. If your blog posts do use featured image that is large size. So these settings you should have them enabled. With Pinterest, you need to grab a unique code if you're maintaining a Pinterest profile. With Yoast SEO Plugin tools, you can actually export. You can import settings from different plugins, or you can export the settings once you've made the changes, because then later on you can simply import those settings. Simply highlight everything, copy, make a local file, as in save, let's say Yoast settings. Okay, so now I can always import that if I want by pasting those details back up. Now basically that's how you set up Yoast, right? Then we have premium. upsell here, as we can see, stop losing customers to local businesses. Once again, you don't really need to use it because there are better ways, easier ways. Once you code this in, then it's always with your website. But nonetheless, that option is available for you. You can purchase the premium version. Here it says SEO Workouts. They've got this image here of a website owner thinking, what's going on? This is not how you're meant to use Yoast SEO plugin. As we can see, it's a premium option. I don't want to show you what that is all about, but rather just tell you that's not how you're meant to do this. If you want to find out what content is important of your website, use Google Search Console, press Performance, select average position, or you can highlight total clicks, impressions, you can change date ranges, and then here look at impressions, analyze that. RankYa YouTube channel has great tutorials for Search Console, so I won't waste time by showing you what's going on here, but rather what pages are important. Search Console, Performance, tab or Reports, and you press on Pages, and here you can see what are the clicks, impressions, as in how many times your pages were shown according to the search query. And looking at positions, you can press on the number and perhaps focus on 5 till 9 position, average ranking position 5 till 9, and look at those pages as to, okay, you know what, in this example, how to fix LCP issue longer than 4 seconds. It's lingering on the 7th, 8th position, and impression is still low, but I'm getting low clicks. That means analyzing Search Console, you can see what pages are important and you're getting clicks towards, and then focus on that instead of using Yoast SEO Plugin, SEO Workouts. Make sense? So this is how you set up Yoast, because using Yoast is actually very easy. Once you make changes, as I've shown to you, then whether it's pages, products, URLs, whether it's blog posts, in terms of SEO, same principles apply. That means have keywords in the URL. SEO title you can modify here, but for long tail keywords, you should just have the title as it is. Meta description, you can describe the page content and include some synonyms perhaps, or call to actions. That's okay, because here you can basically guide Google. It doesn't matter what you place here, Google will work out things automatically. So your job as a website owner is to guide Google to your best ability in terms of search engine optimization. Now with Yoast, as we can see, we have schema here, and you shouldn't be using Yoast schema option anyway. Then we have advanced. Here you can always leave things default unless you know what you're doing, because anytime you make changes here, let's say, should search engines follow links on this post? If you select no, then Yoast SEO plugin adds no follow tags, all this confusing stuff. In fact, they get things wrong because this is not how you meant to do that. Here it says allow search engines to show this post in search results. If you select no, Google will remove this URL from the sitemap. So that may be of interest perhaps for private pages, password protected pages, and so on. Okay, you would hardly use that. You know what? Over a decade, I never use this. Canonical URL, you can change that, but you shouldn't unless you know what you're doing, okay? So, SEO title, meta description, and Yoast Google preview is a great way, because what Yoast is saying here, if Google shows this result, this is what people will see in Google search results. Make sense? So here we can say, let's imagine I do this video lesson in capital letters, and as you can see, that may stand out in search results. So that means you can focus on that and make adjustments accordingly. Schema, you should use it. Social, don't waste time with it, because if you optimize your landing pages correctly, then Google will take care of the rest. But nonetheless, you can say, okay, you know what, I want to create a different image specifically for Facebook shares and so on. If that's the case, then you may want to use it. I suggest to you to not waste a second on these features, but rather just focus on the SEO title and meta description only. Then what else? That's for blog post. For the page, it's the same thing. For your product URLs, if you're operating WooCommerce, it's the same thing. Now you've set up Yoast. This is how you use Yoast. Nothing more, nothing less. Forget about all the other features, because that's not how SEO works. Because now if you focus on content creation, follow simple techniques as shown to you by RankYa, then within 1 month, 3 months, 6 months, when you look back, then you'll be getting free targeted website traffic. You'll be focusing on creating content for people instead of getting focused about keyword density stuff. Now, as I've said at the beginning, I was going to show you how I use Yoast. First, you can log into your cPanel, or you can actually FTP into your theme. There's a file called functions.php. You can download, make a backup. From cPanel, locate your theme file, functions.php, and download a backup. Because I've actually created, well, in fact, I use my own custom settings. And I'm making this available for RankYa fans. To get your hands on it, you can press on subscribe for goodies and subscribe to RankYa mailing list. Because my valued clients pay me top dollars for me to optimize their website. And I think it's only logical for me to make this part of the mailing subscribers. So you can simply copy all these functions and then place it into functions.php file of your WordPress theme. What will this do is it will remove all the upsell clutter, as well as it will remove this wrong Yoast robot settings. It will make sure Yoast doesn't make incorrect adjustments for RSS links. No, follow RSS. Okay, RSS feed. What in the world does that mean? Because WordPress is a content management system for blogging as well as e-commerce or anything else, as we can see, if you visit the feed URL, which search engines will come across this, Yoast adds no follow link attribute, which it shouldn't. So I make sure I remove that. No reply to your comments. You know what? If people are coming to your website and interacting with your blog posts or your comment section, then you have to think twice about adding no follow. So the functions that I have and I use on my valued client's website for Yoast are these. It will also remove focus keyword nonsense. It will remove JSON LD output, which is the structured data. Let's look at a footer.php or WordPress. You can actually use this chunk of code. If it's front page, add a script. Just add it on the front page for search functionality. And I'll zoom in so that you see what this looks like. Because you shouldn't blurt that out on every single page of your WordPress site anyway. So making sure the Yoast plugin doesn't do silly things, I had to find out ways to remove few functionalities that is incorrect. So these functions you can safely use for your WordPress setup. As I've said, all you need to do is copy this section and place it anywhere in functions.php file and paste it in there. Where's that file? It's on your website, cPanel web hosting. Wherever you install WordPress, your theme has a file called functions.php. That's where that code goes into. Also, I'm sharing another function that you can use. It's gonna hook into Yoast meta description and pull that information, and then you can actually blurt that out, perhaps on your sidebar of your website. Let's look at, let's say, widgets. Here I'm blurting it out in the footer section because my theme is different. As we can see, that function will hook into meta description, which you should tweak on every post and page and product pages. So it's going to hook into this and it's going to grab that, and you can place it anywhere on your website. It can be on the sidebar, footer section, because meta description that you create using Yoast will be unique according to the landing page, correct? And by using that function, what you're doing is you're adding a tiny bit of original content, because meta description is not shown on the front end. But when you use RankYa function, then you are showing it on the front end. That means Google will actually see this as well. Because footer section or a sidebar section for a WordPress site is called placeholder content area that Google doesn't even look at for ranking purposes. But when you do this, then you're actually forcing Google to always look at the footer section. That's how you use Yoast. To get your hands on it, press on subscribe for goodies. Name, email. If you do own a website or a YouTube channel, you can perhaps provide a link, and join to RankYa mailing list. Because once you confirm your subscription, you'll have access to these functions that I have created. So I know I have gone through many different angles and I talk a little bit fast because Yoast, although it's a great plugin, it's a popular plugin, now you know how to use it. Because if you end up spending 1 hour, 2 hours looking at focus keywords, text count, link count, that means 1 year later, you and I will still be talking here because your business website won't get the results that it deserves. But now you have the insight and knowledge, including the sample codes for you to set up Yoast and then focus on content creation according to RankYa insights, because then your business success is assured on internet. I thank you very much for learning with RankYa, and I'll talk with you in the next video session.